Okay, this video is a tutorial that will show you how to make a yo-yo in Tinkercad. So this is my yo-yo right here. You can see it says Duker on the side, on both sides. You can put whatever you want on yours, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is duplicate this so I can take it apart so I can remember how I made all the pieces. Now, I know, let's ungroup this, group, I got one more ungroup. I know that this piece here is a hexagon, so I'm going to grab a hexagon right here. It's this blue hexagon, and if I grab that piece and look at, oh, I got to ungroup it one more time. Grab that piece and look at it. These are my settings here. I have 8 sides, and the bevel is 2.5. So I'm going to change that right now while I'm here. So we're going to change sides to 8, so I can just click in there, change the number. Bevel is 2.5, so do 2 period or 0.5. That's what's going to give it that little rounded edge there, which is just for looks basically. And then let's change the size here. We got 10 by 55.43. 55.43. I don't remember how I got it that size or why. But let's start by making it a height of 10, which will eventually be the width. And then we're going to go ahead and flip that. That's using this button here. 90 degrees. Oh, and I forgot to do something. Yep. Okay. Let's undo that. Flatten it back out again, because what I want is for this flat side to look flat. If I tip it right now, then my yo-yo is not going to be sitting on the ground. So I'm going to go back to the top view here. I'm using this turn button so that we can turn it 22.5 degrees so this piece is flat here. That way, when I go back to this view and we tilt it this way, tilt it up 90 degrees like we are going to, then go ahead and hit the D key. And then what's going to happen is you can see that this is flat on the ground now. That's the way we want it so that it prints well. Okay, I'm still trying to figure out why I had this size of 55.43, but we'll go ahead and do that. 55.43, and then the width is also 55.43. 5.43, decent size, looking right now, perfect, awesome, love it. So go ahead and do that, make sure those measurements are correct. 55.43, the width should be 10, the height is also 55.43. Now we're going to take a look at this circle here, which came from a sphere. So you're going to bring out a sphere. The first thing we did, because that's a half circle, is we made it a half circle. So I'm going to bring a hole out so we can cut this circle in half. And I'm going to bring it right over here. And I'm going to move it right in until it's halfway through my circle. Notice I'm stretching the box out. You want to look from all views and make sure it's covering the whole half of that sphere. If there's any parts that were sticking out, stretch that hole out just like I did. And then you're going to grab both of those items and group them together. Okay? So I'm going to grab both of those items here. Make sure you're not touching anything else, like I just touched that. So now I don't want to group those two things together, so I'm just grabbing those two. This is the group button up there, or you can hit Command G. This should be 10 if you got it halfway through. If you didn't get it halfway through, that's 8 or 14 or something like that. And I'm looking at this number down here as 10. Then you can ungroup it and remove your box around wherever it needs to go. Make sure you click just on your box. And then regroup it so that the width is 10. And if it's not, again, fix it. Okay, so I gotta click on this now. Let's see what we did. We made that 40 and the width 4 and 40. So we're gonna change those. So this should be 4. The width is 40 and the height is 40. Beautiful. Okay. Now that piece is this piece here, so we have to line these up a little bit. You can drag it like I did, but eventually you're going to need to grab both items. Again, make sure you've only clicked on 2 shapes. You can see over here it says 2 shapes. And we're going to use the Align tool. So we're going to align it center here, center circle here, and we want the center circle here. So we're doing all middle circles. Middle, middle on the bottom, middle on the height. Notice that my half sphere is gone now. We're going to fix that by, make sure you click off of everything, because we had just grabbed both things. So this is only going to work if you click off of everything, and then you're going to click back on our octagon, and then we're going to move it out until we see our sphere. And I don't see my sphere. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, so I'm using the left arrow on my keyboard until that circle starts popping out, and you want it to take up most of that beveled octagon in the middle. If you go too far, it's going to be separate, which you don't want. You want it to be just barely sticking out. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to this view because, whoops, we want it right there. So that's too small. That's perfect. That's, well, that might still be okay. Yeah, I don't like it though, because it might not be attached fully though. So I'm going to take that angle right there. Okay, now we're done with this piece. We need a second of that piece. So we're going to grab both of those items again, click and drag, make sure you're only grabbing those two, and then you're going to hit the group button, so that is one piece. Now, if you don't like how this has changed into one color, we can fix that by clicking on solid over here and just click multicolor. It will change it back. It doesn't really matter what the colors are, it's just easier to see the two different shapes, but the yo-yo will be whatever color the printer is. Okay, so we're going to click on that shape now and we're going to duplicate it. Oh, sorry, duplicates over here, or you can hit Control D. Okay, now I'm going to move this around and I'm going to use the left arrow key on my keyboard, and notice there's the second one. Okay, now I'm going to put it back for a second though. I'm going to hit undo, because what I want to do first is flip this. It's got to be facing the other direction. So this is the flip button. So I'm going to hit what's called mirror, but that flips things. And I'm looking for this arrow right here, the left to right arrow. That's going to flip it that way. Okay. Now they're not right on top of each other anymore. I'm going to put them right on top of each other with my left arrow again. There we go. Now they're right on top of each other. And this is going to help me get it the right space apart. I believe I moved it 17 clicks apart. Once it's on top of each other like this, perfectly on top of each other, we'll see if this works. 17 might not have been right. I might have to change that, but I'm going to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 clicks. That was 17 clicks or taps with my left arrow on my keyboard. That should be correctly apart now. Hopefully, I'm actually printing it right now. Hopefully that's far enough apart. We'll see. I can always change that, let you know, and change that if you want. Okay, now to get our middle piece that connects the two outer pieces. Let's see, that's a that is this right here, a sphere, but we're going to go ahead and check the measurements on that, 20 high, 20, 20. Okay, so we didn't change the measurements on that at all. So we're going to click it out here, but we do have to flip it because right now it's facing the wrong direction. So we're looking for that arrow on the top, and we want to flip our sphere 90 degrees left and right, so it's sitting like that. Okay, now what we want to do is get it right in the middle of these two spheres. So I'm going to go ahead and grab those two, or not spheres, octagons, and I'm going to grab this sphere too, so I'm touching all three things. Make sure it says only 3 here. That's how many items you should have, because those two are grouped together. So we have 1 item here, 2 items, 3 items, and then we're going to check out our center button. We want it centered this way, and we want it centered that way, and we want it centered this. Oh, nope, undo. We don't want that middle center button. So we just want the height centered and left to right centered, and that should be right in the middle now. Okay. Now, at this point, I would group these 3 things together. Excuse me. So I'm gonna hit the group button right here, or Control G, so that if I accidentally have to move this at all, I am moving the whole thing and not moving it apart. Remember, if you make any mistakes at any point here, you can hit the undo button to fix that. Okay, now to put our hole in the middle to tie our string. Our hole is 55, not that the height matters, by 4 by 4. So we're gonna grab a cylinder that is a hole. I think it was calling a sphere a second ago. Again, the height doesn't really matter because it's going to go all the way through and it's a hole. But the measurement here we want to be 4 by 4. Okay. Now we're going to get it right in the middle, so I'm grabbing both items again. Make sure you have 2 items. Hitting the center button. We want it centered this way and this way. We do not need to center the height this time. We want to keep it on the ground. And then while we're here, we can group it together, and that's going to punch the hole out. There it is. And that's to tie whatever string you're going to use. Okay. The last thing we need to do is put the word that we want on the side. So we're going to grab a text item, and we're going to get it right in the middle here. It's always nice and huge, which is annoying, but let's not worry about that right now. I put Duker on my first one. I'll put Cerny on this one. Okay. And this is where it gets tricky because it's way too big. Not tricky, but we got to make sure we get this right. We need to, first of all, shrink this. And we don't want to shrink it just by dragging these, because what happens is things get smushy. And we don't want them to be smushy. We want them to look professional. So we're going to hit the undo button. And now, when you want to shrink something without changing the shape of it so it doesn't get smushy, you have to hold the shift key on your keyboard while you drag the anchor squares. So I'm holding the shift key down over here on my keyboard, and now watch when I drag this, my Cerny stays the right shape. Okay, get it to the right shape. Then we have to recenter it, or not recenter, we haven't centered it yet, so we're centering it. Let's see, which way do we want to center this guy? We want to center the height, and we want it center left to right. We don't want to hit it center there, it's going to shove it in the middle. Okay, now I'm going to click off of that and click back to Cerny. And notice we're not where we're supposed to be anymore because we shrunk it. And we're going to make this a whole. It should print better as a whole. And I'm using the left arrow on my keyboard to move that into place. And we want it to go pretty far in. But keep in mind we don't want it to go too far in because then I lose my middle letters. And that's because this blue piece was a sphere, remember, so it's kind of curved. So we want to see our letters popping out a little bit. And make sure they're also attached everywhere. Okay? Now, at this point, we need to get it on the other side. So what I'm going to do, let's see here. I'm going to fit screen this. What I'm going to do is click back on my words, or word. I'm going to duplicate it, which is Command-D on your keyboard, or right here, that's the duplicate button. And then I'm using the arrow keys on my keyboard, the left arrow key, to move that to the other side. If I try to drag it, I'm not going to be centered anymore, which is okay. But this will keep me from having to center it again. Now notice, we're backwards because it's facing the other direction on the other side. So we need to use our mirror button again. This is the mirror button. And we're going to mirror it this way, I believe. Nope, undo that. Mirror this way, there we go. The left to right mirror button. There we go. Make sure it's the right direction. You can click on it again and make sure that it's touching everywhere. If I hit the F key zooms in on whatever you're clicked on. Okay, that looks pretty good. Zoom back out a little bit. I'm going to grab those items. Now we have our yo-yo and our words on both sides. We should have 3 items. We're going to group those together. That's going to pop the letter out. Once it's done thinking, it's processing right now. And we can check that and make sure it looks good. I don't know why it's thinking for so long. There we go. Make sure those letters are punched in like they're supposed to be. You can check both sides. We got our hole in the middle, and we're ready to print. When you're at this point, raise your hand. Mr. Cerny's going to check the measurements, make sure everything looks good, make sure that he didn't change how far apart they are, because I'm printing mine right now. Hopefully it's the right distance apart, and then he'll get that printing for you. So I'm going to come up here and type in Cerny's yo-yo, so Mr. Cerny can find it nice and easy when he prints it. Have fun.